Have you ever stumbled upon a penny and thought it was worthless? What if that same seemingly ordinary coin could actually make you hundreds of dollars richer? That's exactly the case with the 1987 1-cent coin from the United States, a coin that's taken the numismatic world by storm due to some unique errors, historical context, and surprising collector demand that has pushed its value to a staggering $895 or even more in rare cases. And if you're someone who's just now realizing the financial potential hiding in your pocket change, then keep watching, because this deep dive into the 1987 penny will reveal all the secrets, factors, and peculiar details that contribute to why this coin has become one of the most talked about and sought after Lincoln cents in recent memory, and with coin hunters, collectors, and even casual hobbyists digging through their old jars and rolls to locate this particular year. It's no wonder that the 1987 penny has gone from being just another bronze-coated zinc disc in circulation to a legendary hidden gem in American coin history. And as we trace its origins back to the Reagan-era U.S. mint operations, the real intrigue begins with the fact that over 10 billion pennies were minted between the Philadelphia and Denver mints that year, which might suggest an abundance that would normally discourage collectors. But instead, the opposite has occurred, as various error types, ranging from double dies and off-center strikes to die cracks, clipped planchets, and weak strikes, have turned ordinary coins into small fortunes. And it's these flaws, usually caused by malfunctions in the coin presses, worn dies, or misfeeds of the blanks, that become the shining factor which makes certain 1987 pennies dramatically more valuable than others. And among the most famous examples are those with strong doubling in the lettering or date, particularly in the "In God We Trust, Liberty" or the 1987 date itself, all of which have been documented by coin grading agencies and auction records to fetch premiums exceeding $100, $300, and in extremely rare mint state conditions, even closing in on the $900 mark. And perhaps even more fascinating is how some collectors have discovered coins with multiple errors stacked on top of each other, such as a double die with an off-center strike or a die clash with a retained cud, creating ultra-rare specimens that exist in only single or double-digit quantities worldwide. And when scarcity meets demand, prices surge, as seen in recent eBay auctions, heritage auctions events, and coin shows where experienced graders and dealers confirm the authenticity of these errors and assign MS, mint state, grades that help determine their worth. And the higher the grade, especially MS 65 and above, the more valuable the coin becomes. But even circulated 1987 pennies with visible but dramatic mint errors can be worth $50, $100, or more depending on the severity and type of the mistake. And part of the charm of the 1987 penny lies not only in its errors, but also in its position in the post-1982 zinc ore era, when the U.S. Mint had transitioned from solid copper to copper-plated zinc, making coins more susceptible to certain kinds of flaws such as blistering, plating bubbles, and lamination errors, all of which are now highly collectible, especially when they appear on a well-preserved 1987 cent. And another aspect that fuels the desirability of this coin is the rising trend in numismatic investment, where collectors are not just hobbyists, but also investors looking for tangible assets that appreciate over time. And because many people unknowingly spent or discarded their 1987 era coins over the decades, the surviving population of premium specimens is shrinking, further enhancing the demand and therefore the market price. And interestingly, even coins that appear visually mundane to the untrained eye can contain minted details, such as a repunched mint mark, RPM, die deterioration doubling, DDD, or reverse die gouges, that can escalate their value once properly identified under magnification or through submission to grading services like PCGS or NGC. And for those who have coins stored away in rolls, boxes, or inherited collections, now is the best time to check for 1987 1-cent coins because the numismatic market is currently booming, with renewed interest thanks to viral videos, social media posts, and collector communities sharing photos of their finds. And while the most valuable examples are usually authenticated and graded, raw ungraded coins with dramatic visible errors can still sell fast if you list them correctly, with clear photos and descriptions on auction sites. And that brings us to the question: how can you tell if your 1987 penny is worth money? Start by checking the mint mark, looking for any doubling in the letters or numbers. Examine both obverse and reverse under a magnifying glass. Pay attention to the edges and rims for clips or cuts, and if anything seems odd or off-center, you might be holding on to a coin that's worth way more than 1 cent. And this is especially important because as more people become aware of the hidden value in old change, the likelihood of finding these gems in circulation decreases, meaning early discoverers will benefit the most while prices remain strong, and some coins have even crossed into the $1,000 range at auction when collectors with specific needs or themes for their collections outbid each other for a unique specimen. And this dynamic shows how demand isn't just driven by rarity, but also collector enthusiasm. Thematic collecting, such as era collections or year sets, and even nostalgia, especially for coins minted during the 1980s, a decade with a cultural legacy that continues to hold emotional value for many. And speaking of emotional value, some of the most heartfelt stories come from people who found these coins in their grandparents' jars or as childhood collections now worth serious money, further cementing the 1987 penny's place as a surprising treasure from America's recent past. And while some may question how something so common could hold such hidden potential, history has shown us that many valuable collectibles start out as everyday items. Baseball cards, comic books, toys, and now, increasingly, coins. And this makes the hunt for valuable 1987 1-cent coins not only exciting but also potentially rewarding for those willing to dig in, do the research, and examine every detail, because in today's collector market, information and patience can translate directly into profit. And while the average 1987 penny still trades for face value, it's the exceptional few with unique traits that transform it into something extraordinary. Something worth $895 or more depending on condition, demand, and timing. And as we wrap up this exploration of the iconic and unexpectedly valuable 1987 Lincoln cent, don't forget to check your change, spread the word to friends and family, and if you enjoyed learning something new and potentially profitable today, make sure to like this video. Subscribe to the channel for more rare coin discoveries, and tap the bell so you don't miss out on the next piece of treasure hiding in plain sight. Next, 1984 1-cent USA coin. Today we're diving deep into the captivating world of the 1984 Lincoln 1-cent coin, a humble penny at face value, but one that has commanded attention in the numismatic community for reaching incredible auction prices as high as $743 or more, all because of a unique and fascinating combination of minting errors, mechanical mishaps, and production anomalies that make this particular coin one of the most sought-after error pennies in circulation today. And what makes it even more intriguing is how such a small, easily overlooked coin can turn into a highly valuable collectible when struck with just the right imperfections, beginning with the now infamous doubled ear error, which has become one of the standout error varieties for this year and has created an entire subculture of collectors hunting down examples of the so-called 1984 doubled ear Lincoln cent, an error that originated at the Philadelphia Mint when a die received a misaligned hubbing, leading to a prominent doubling of Abraham Lincoln's earlobe on the obverse, an anomaly that is both visible to the naked eye and spectacular under magnification. And the moment collectors began discovering this specific doubling, interest surged due to its clarity, consistency, and rarity, which helped drive up values rapidly, especially for coins in higher mint state grades like MS64 or MS65 where the doubling remains sharp. The fields are clean, and the overall strike is strong. but the doubled ear is far from the only error. That makes the 1984 cent valuable because other production issues that occurred that year contributed to a wider spread of errors that now populate the market, and each has its own fanbase, including off-center strikes which happen when the coin blank, or planchet, is not properly centered within the striking chamber and results in a coin where parts of the design are missing and pushed toward one edge, with some 1984 cents showing off-center strikes up to 20% or more while still retaining a fully visible date and mint mark, a combination that collectors love because it retains both authenticity and uniqueness, and values increase even further when such errors appear in uncirculated condition or are accompanied by certification from third-party grading companies like PCGS or NGC, who have documented and slabbed several high-value error 1984 cents, particularly those with dramatic die clashes, a phenomenon that occurs when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in between, creating eerie ghost images of one side's design imprinted onto the other, resulting in coins where you might see the Lincoln Memorial appearing faintly behind Lincoln's head or reverse features showing through from the opposite side. And these clash marks can vary in severity, but when they're bold and clear, they command high prices and admiration from collectors who specialize in minting oddities. And continuing the trend of mechanical mishaps, another error found on 1984 cents includes die cracks and die chips, which occur when the die begins to wear out or crack under the immense pressure of coin striking, producing raised, jagged lines or blobs of extra metal on the coin surface, often seen near Lincoln's head, beard, or along the lettering, with some examples showing large, dramatic chips that obscure parts of the legend or even form what collectors call extra spiked hair, or beard blobs that give the coin a quirky, one-of-a-kind appearance, and these kinds of errors, though common in various degrees, gain major value when they're especially bold, unusually placed, or combined with other anomalies, and the thrill of finding a coin with a retained interior die break, where a section of the die begins to break off but remains in place for multiple strikes, leaving a sharply defined lump or crack-like shape that sometimes creates odd facial distortions or new features, is a key reason error collecting has become so popular, and in the case of the 1984 penny, these features are often magnified due to the increased striking pressures used in that era to achieve cleaner images, ironically causing more damage to the dies, and making die-related errors more common and more valuable. And we haven't even touched yet on the rare instances of struck-through errors where foreign materials like grease, thread, or metal shavings become lodged between the die and the planchet during striking, leading to missing details, blank areas, or bizarre textures that give the coin a haunted or mysterious appearance. And when these strike-throughs intersect with key areas like Lincoln's face, the date, or the inscriptions, their values can jump, especially when the interference is well preserved and documented. And even rarer are the examples of 1984 cents struck on improper planchets, which can include blank coins intended for other denominations like dimes or foreign coins, leading to wrong metal compositions, underweight or overweight coins, or edge styles that differ from the standard. And these planchet errors are immediately noticeable due to the size, color, or shape being off from typical Lincoln cents, and can result in some of the most valuable sales among all error types due to their sheer rarity. And clipped planchets also occasionally appear in 1984 cents, creating a crescent moon shape on one edge where part of the blank was cut improperly before striking. And if the clip is dramatic and doesn't interfere with key identifying features like the date and mint mark, it becomes another must-have for collectors chasing unique shapes and forms within error coinage. And in the world of modern Lincoln cents, even something as seemingly minor as a rotated die can be a source of fascination and value, where if you hold the coin and flip it top to bottom, instead of the reverse being upright, it might be tilted or completely upside down. And while this is more common in earlier coinage, occasional examples from the 1980s have been recorded, including in the 1984 year, which adds further fuel to the fire of collector interest in this particular date, and the fact that this coin came from the transitional period following the 1982 change from copper to copper-plated zinc means that metal composition adds another layer of interest, with some 1984 cents potentially displaying odd toning, flaking, or blistering due to issues with the copper plating adhering to the zinc core. And although these aren't always considered traditional mint errors, they represent planchet flaws that can be desirable to collectors who like to explore all the quirks that arise from changes in minting technology and materials. And when these planchet issues combine with striking errors, the result is a coin with multiple layers of intrigue, history, and value, making the humble 1984 cent far more than just a coin you'd expect to receive in loose change. And that leads us to the broader realization that any coin, no matter how recent or seemingly ordinary, can become a high-value collectible if struck under the right, or wrong, conditions. And as we look back at the sales data, we find that certified examples of the 1984 doubled ear variety alone have fetched hundreds of dollars consistently, with MS64 red specimens frequently breaking the $400 barrier and climbing depending on eye appeal, luster, and degree of doubling. And when these are combined with other error types like off-center strikes or die chips, we find sale records reaching as high as $743 or more, especially in collector marketplaces, coin shows, or specialty auctions where passionate error collectors are willing to bid fiercely for the right coin. And the rise of online platforms like eBay, heritage auctions, and various numismatic forums has allowed more of these coins to come to light, encouraging everyday people to check their change, sort their penny rolls, and take a closer look at that pile of copper and zinc sitting in drawers or jars, because buried within those common sense could be a tiny treasure hiding in plain sight. And one of the most exciting aspects of this growing interest is the educational benefit that comes with it. By studying coins, like the 1984 penny, and the many ways things can go wrong during the minting process, collectors learn to appreciate the craftsmanship, complexity, and occasional fallibility of even the most heavily automated systems, reminding us that human oversight, machine wear, and raw material inconsistencies can each play a role in creating something unique, valuable, and utterly collectible. And as more collectors begin to explore the fascinating error landscape of the 1984 Lincoln cent. Next, 2019 D. Lincoln penny. Today we're diving deep into the astonishing story of a 2019 D. Lincoln 1 cent coin. Yes, a modern penny that you might have tossed aside or used to pay for a piece of candy. One that has been documented to be worth as much as $5,323 due to its rare and remarkable mint errors, shocking mistakes, and the sheer combination of unlikely circumstances that make this otherwise ordinary-looking coin one of the most valuable pieces to emerge from the modern era of U.S. mint history. And whether you're a seasoned numismatist, a casual coin roll hunter, or someone who just happened to stumble on a shiny 2019 D cent in their pocket change, this in-depth look will open your eyes to the infinite possibilities and reasons why this coin has taken the collecting world by storm and become the subject of viral interest across collector forums, auction sites, and appraisal circles alike. So let's get right into what makes the 2019 D penny such a colossal jackpot of a find, and why you need to double, triple, even quadruple check your pennies before they disappear into the coin jar forever. Starting with the coin's origin, minted at the Denver Mint in the year 2019, the 2019 D. Lincoln Shield cent was one of the more recent issues in the continuing legacy of the Lincoln cent, which began back in 1909 and was updated in 2010, with the Union Shield design replacing the long-running Lincoln Memorial reverse. And like most modern coins, billions of these were struck, leading many to believe there's nothing special about them. But that assumption couldn't be further from the truth, because tucked within the mountain of standard, flawless coins are the rare anomalies, the factory mistakes, the production hiccups, and overlooked blunders that transform a humble copper-plated zinc disc into a numismatic prize worth thousands. And while many collectors previously ignored modern pennies thinking they held little value unless in pristine mint state condition, the 2019 D-cent shattered expectations when error specialists and auctioneers began reporting spectacular examples that pushed values over $5,000, including one particular example that sold for $5,323 due to an incredibly rare and dramatic retained die clash error, which brings us to one of the main reasons this coin is worth such staggering money. Because it suffered one of the most extreme minting errors possible, one that visually distorts the design to such a degree that it's instantly recognizable even to novice eyes, with Lincoln's face appearing ghosted, overlapping shapes, doubled and muddled inscriptions, and a surreal, almost melted look to key areas of the coin, particularly around the motto, "In God We Trust," the word, "Liberty," and the date itself. And the retained die clash is just the beginning, as other documented 2019 D errors since include off-center strikes, which occur when the blank planchet is not correctly seated in the coin press, resulting in part of the design being missing or displaced. If the strike is more than 50% off-center and the date remains visible, collectors will pay hundreds, even thousands for such examples, especially in uncirculated or mint state condition. And then there's the broad strike error, where the collar die malfunctions and allows the metal to expand outward without restriction, leading to a coin that looks like it has a wider diameter or strange rim, making it a must-have for collectors who seek out coins that deviate from the strict round precision of U.S. mint standards. And another major error contributing to the 2019 D-cent skyrocketing value is the struck-through error, where foreign material like grease, wire, or string is caught between the die and the planchet during striking, creating dramatic and highly collectible indentations or depressions in the coin surface. Sometimes these struck-through errors remove entire portions of the design, resulting in ultra-rare patterns that can only occur once or twice during production, and when paired with other errors like die cracks or misaligned dies, the price explodes. And some 2019 D pennies have shown severe die cracks and die breaks, which are raised lines or blobs on the surface caused by fractures in the die itself. These flaws make each affected coin completely unique and highly desirable, especially when the cracks stretch across Lincoln's portrait, the date, or over the shield on the reverse, creating eye-catching visual flaws that command high premiums. And it doesn't end there, because certain 2019 D-cents have even been struck on defective planchets, including planchets intended for other denominations or with incorrect compositions, such as coins struck on dime planchets or with partially missing copper plating, giving them a silvery or discolored appearance that instantly alerts collectors that something rare is in their hands. And perhaps one of the most sensational errors found in this issue is the double die variety, particularly a dramatic double die obverse, DDO, where elements like Lincoln's eye, nose, chin, date numerals, and the inscriptions appear doubled under magnification or even visible to the naked eye if the doubling is extreme. And the 2019 D double die has been confirmed by error experts and fetched enormous sums at auctions, with some selling well over $2,000 and more depending on clarity, visibility, and overall coin condition. And while we're on the subject of condition, it's worth repeating that grade plays a critical role in the final value of error coins, especially modern ones, and coins certified by grading authorities like PCGS, NGC, or ANAX that achieve mint state grades of MS65 or higher dramatically increase the value of any error they contain, and in rare cases, full red coloration, indicating the coin has not toned or oxidized, can boost value even more, as red examples of 2019 D error cents with major flaws are far rarer than brown or red-brown examples due to how fast modern copper-plated zinc coins degrade in circulation. And let's not forget die caps, where a coin sticks to the upper die and continues striking multiple subsequent coins, forming a mushroom-shaped cap that results in severely distorted, even unrecognizable coins that are prized above almost all other errors, and while less frequently seen. A 2019 die-cap penny would instantly become a highlight of any collector's showcase, and could easily fetch thousands depending on its shape, duration of the error, and clarity of details. And other known errors include coins with rotated dies, where the obverse and reverse are misaligned from each other by 30 degrees or more. And while minor rotations are common and not worth much, major rotations, such as 90 degrees or more, are extremely valuable and sought after. And there's also the dramatic collar clash error, where the die clashes not with another die, but with the collar, leaving noticeable marks or gouges at the coin's outer rim. And although most of these coins will not make it into circulation due to strict quality control, some do, and they become instant collector favorites due to how drastically different they appear from the standard issue. And then there's the more subtle but equally collectible phenomenon of misaligned dies, where one side of the coin, usually the obverse, is struck slightly off-center while the reverse is centered, giving the coin a strange and off-balance look that draws collector interest and sells well at auction when paired with mint state preservation. And among the most elusive errors are the mule errors, where dies from two different coin types are used to strike a single coin. While no confirmed 2019 mule cents have yet been verified, the possibility remains open and would almost certainly make headlines and command a six-figure value if found, because mule coins are the rarest of all mint mistakes. And as if all that weren't enough, there's the continuous emergence of undocumented varieties, small design shifts, minor double dies, repunched mint marks, unusual die polish lines, and strike-through fibers that all contribute to the growing list of collectible oddities within the 2019 set population. And as coin roll hunters, collectors, and eBay sellers continue to scrutinize and submit these modern pennies for professional grading and authentication, more discoveries are being made each month, expanding the error catalog and driving up the market for dramatic examples, particularly ones that are both bold and pristine. And that's why today, this simple 1-cent piece, intended only to help make change, has risen to become a legend in the eyes of collectors, commanding values of $5,323 and above when the right combination of rarity, visual appeal, dramatic error. Next, 2001 Lincoln penny. Today, we're taking a deep and thrilling look into one specific coin that has made waves in the coin collecting community for its unusual errors and high value potential, the 2001 Lincoln 1-cent coin, a seemingly ordinary penny that, due to a unique combination of minting errors, die imperfections, striking anomalies, and collectible qualities, has sold for up to $665 or more in certain conditions. And in this in-depth video, we will unravel all the fascinating possibilities and mistakes that make this specific coin not just a piece of change but a potential numismatic jackpot. So sit tight as we explore every known error, rarity, and anomaly tied to the 2001 penny minted at the Denver Mint, and understand why this little copper-plated zinc coin has become a favorite among serious collectors, error enthusiasts, and coin hunters across the country and beyond. And first, let's understand the base of this coin. Produced as part of the Lincoln Cent series, which began in 1909 and features the iconic bust of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, with 2001 being one of the last years before the shift to the Lincoln bicentennial designs, and the D Mint mark indicates that this coin was struck at the Denver Mint, a facility known for producing billions of coins annually. But as with all high-volume production processes, mistakes can and do happen. And it is precisely those mistakes that create numismatic gold, starting with one of the most common but highly valuable types of error, off-center strikes, which occur when the coin blank or planchet is not properly aligned with the dies during the striking process, resulting in part of the design being cut off and a crescent-shaped blank area appearing on the coin, and when the error is severe enough yet still allows the date and mint mark to be fully visible. Collectors prize these pieces and will pay large sums to add them to their collection, and in the case of the 2001 penny, off-center strikes ranging from 10 to 50% off have been found, with some showing beautifully clean misalignment, commanding values from $100 to over $600 depending on condition and clarity. And then we have broad-struck errors, which happen when the coin is struck without the collar that shapes the edge, allowing the metal to expand more than it should and resulting in a wider, flatter appearance that clearly distinguishes it from normal cents, and broad-struck 2001 examples that are also in mint state or uncirculated condition become especially desirable, particularly when paired with strong detail and preserved surfaces, and collectors are especially interested in coins that exhibit dramatic visual distortion while retaining identifiable features such as the date and Lincoln's profile. But the errors don't stop there, as we also must consider die cracks and die chips, which occur when the minting dies themselves begin to wear down or break apart, allowing small lines, blobs, or bumps of metal to form on the coin where they shouldn't be, and these die-related flaws are especially popular when they appear in interesting locations such as Lincoln's eye, known humorously as a spiked eye, variety, in his hair, or on the Lincoln Memorial columns. And while small die chips may only add a few dollars of value, larger or more dramatic ones, especially those given nicknames by the community, can become mini sensations and reach high premiums. And then there are double die errors, a highly collectible type of variety where the die itself was misaligned during the hubbing process, resulting in doubling of the coin's design elements such as the date, mint mark, mottos, or even the Lincoln Memorial features. And although not every double die is dramatic enough to be spotted without magnification, those that are, especially Class 1 or Class V types with visible doubling on the words, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty," can command serious attention and high prices, especially when certified by major grading companies like PCGS or NGC. And 2001 double die cents have been reported with doubling on both obverse and reverse elements, and when found in high grade, they can push the value close to or even beyond the $665 mark, particularly when combined with a second error, creating a compound rarity that's even more sought after. And let's not forget about strike-through errors, which happen when a foreign object like a piece of string, grease, metal, shaving, or even cloth gets caught between the die and the planchet during striking, resulting in bizarre textures, missing design features, or even embedded impressions of the foreign object, and these types of errors are often one of a kind, making them uniquely collectible, with values depending on how dramatic and identifiable the strike-through is. And certain strike-throughs that affect Lincoln's face or distort the memorial building have sold for hundreds on their own, and when paired with strong surfaces and sharp overall strike, they become instantly attractive to collectors who specialize in error coins. And then we get into the exciting world of transitional and wrong planchet errors, where the coin is struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination, metal composition, or even a foreign coin, and although extremely rare, if any 2001 cents were accidentally struck on a dime or foreign coin blank, their size, weight, and color would differ significantly from standard examples, and these types of errors have a long and valuable track record among collectors, often selling for hundreds or even thousands depending on the coin's specifics and provenance. And then we must also consider the lesser-known, but still lucrative errors, like rotated dies, where the obverse and reverse of the coin are not correctly aligned when flipped, creating a misorientation that becomes more valuable as the degree of rotation increases. And then there's the potential for repunched mint marks, RPMs, where the D mint mark may appear doubled, shadowed, or slightly off-kilter due to being punched more than once, And while most modern mint marks are added during the die creation process, RPMs can still occur and are actively hunted by variety enthusiasts, especially when the doubling is visible without magnification. And let's not forget about machine doubling, which, though generally less valuable than true doubled dies, still appeals to certain segments of collectors, especially when the doubling is clean and covers major design elements. And all of these errors and varieties must be evaluated within the context of the coin's grade, because a 2001D penny with a dramatic error but heavy circulation might only fetch a fraction of the price that the same error would command in an uncirculated or mint state coin. And that's why professional grading can make all the difference in turning a neat find into a significant payday. And coins graded MS65 or higher by PCGS, NGC, or Annex, especially those labeled with error designations, are the ones making headlines and pulling high bids at auctions and online sales platforms like eBay, Heritage Auctions, and Great Collections, where competitive bidders drive up the price for standout examples. And while the 2001D penny might not be as well known as other famous errors, like the 1955 double die or the 1969S double die, it is a sleeper hit in the error collecting world, with multiple examples having sold in the $100 to $600 plus range depending on rarity, visibility of error, and overall coin condition. And what makes it even more exciting is that these coins can still be found in circulation today, tucked away in penny jars, bank rolls, or coin-counting machine rejects, just waiting to be discovered by sharp-eyed treasure hunters like you. And every time someone finds a new variety, an unknown double die, or a spectacular off-center strike, it adds to the growing lore surrounding this date and mint mark, making the 2001D penny a worthy target for all levels of collectors, from beginners looking to score their first valuable find, to seasoned experts assembling comprehensive error sets. And the joy of discovery, the thrill of spotting that odd-looking coin, the satisfaction of researching and confirming its error status, and the potential of turning a single cent into hundreds of dollars, all contribute to the continued popularity of coins like this. And when you consider the educational value, the community connections, and the sheer fun of the hunt, it's easy to see why the 2001D penny has earned a place of honor among modern era coins. Next, 2015 D Lincoln penny. Today we're talking about the 2015 D Lincoln 1-cent coin, a small yet incredibly intriguing piece of modern American currency that, under certain conditions, and due to very specific and highly sought-after errors and minting mistakes, can be worth as much as $230 or even more. So get ready to be amazed as we break down everything you need to know about this penny that could turn ordinary pocket change into unexpected profit. Because while this coin may appear insignificant at first glance, with its standard copper-plated zinc composition and the familiar image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse along with the Union Shield design on the reverse, the reality is that certain error variations from the Denver Mint in 2015 have made this particular coin a hot target among collectors, enthusiasts, and treasure hunters. And as we dig into the fascinating world of minting anomalies, we'll explore the full range of mistakes and irregularities that transform this humble coin into a high-value collectible, beginning with one of the most eye-catching error types, off-center strikes, which occur when the coin blank or planchet is not properly aligned within the striking chamber, causing the resulting coin to display a dramatically shifted design. And for the 2015 D penny, examples with a 40% or more off-center strike while still retaining a visible date and mint mark are especially valuable, because these errors are not only rare but also present a visually stunning misalignment that draws attention and makes the coin stand out instantly in any collection. And then we have double die obverse (DDO) and double die reverse (DDR) errors, which occur when the die used to strike the coin was improperly manufactured during the hubbing process, resulting in a design that appears doubled. And for the 2015 D cent, Known DDO varieties show doubling in key areas such as the date, the word, liberty, and the motto, "In God We Trust," with sharp and visible separations between letters, which collectors prize because they can be verified under magnification and are usually found in limited numbers, and the value of these doubled dies increases significantly when found in uncirculated or mint-state condition. And then there are die cracks and die breaks, also known as retained cuts, which are raised, jagged lines on the coin caused by cracks in the die that struck the coin. And these can appear anywhere on the surface, but are especially dramatic when they cut across Lincoln's face, the date, or the shield design on the reverse, and these errors give the coin a lightning strike appearance and make each example unique, with higher premiums commanded for cracks that are large, dramatic, and easily visible without magnification, and closely related are die chips, small blobs of metal that appear on the coin as a result of broken die pieces, commonly found around Lincoln's mouth, eyes, or the shield's top, which can give rise to nicknames like Spitting Lincoln or Drooling Lincoln, depending on the chip location. And while these chips may be tiny, they're often popular with collectors due to their quirky, almost cartoonish appearance, especially when they add character to the design. And another intriguing error type to watch for is the struck-through error, where a foreign object, such as a piece of cloth, thread, or grease, was present on the planchet or die during striking, causing part of the design to be missing or distorted in unusual ways. And these struck-through errors vary in value depending on how much of the design is affected and how obvious the intrusion is. And when it comes to value, the more dramatic and centered the error, the better. And we must also talk about the 2015 pennies struck on the wrong planchets, which is an especially rare and desirable error where a penny is accidentally struck on a planchet meant for another denomination or even a foreign coin. And these errors can often be identified by weight, color, or design differences, such as a penny struck on a dime planchet appearing slightly smaller and missing design elements. And these wrong planchet errors are extremely scarce and often sell for hundreds of dollars, sometimes much more depending on the severity and type of planchet involved. And related to this are transitional errors, which, although not commonly associated with 2015 cents, remain a possibility whenever mints switch metal compositions or design elements. And if a coin from this year was somehow struck using a leftover planchet or die from a previous year, it could qualify as a transitional error, which are among the most valuable and rare in all of coin collecting. And then we also have broad-struck errors, which occur when the collar that normally contains the coin during striking fails, causing the coin to expand beyond its normal diameter and lose some edge detail. And these coins often appear stretched or warped and are instantly recognizable once seen, with values determined by how complete the design remains and how far outside the standard diameter the coin spreads. And in addition to broad strikes, we also see partial collar strikes, where the coin appears slightly misaligned and shows a visible railroad rim or double rim on one edge due to improper collar engagement. And while less dramatic than full broad strikes, these partial collar errors are still quite collectible, especially when the coin is in high grade. And let's not forget about coins with die clashes, where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in between, transferring ghost-like impressions from one die to the other, and then onto the coins, creating eerie and fascinating images where you might see parts of the shield design on Lincoln's portrait or vice versa. And these clash marks are particularly interesting because they tell a story about what went wrong during the minting process, adding another layer of uniqueness and appeal. And among the rarest and most exciting error possibilities are mule errors, where dies from two different coins or denominations are paired incorrectly to strike a coin. And although no known mule errors have surfaced yet for the 2015 cent, it's always a possibility when large quantities of coins are being produced. And it only takes one such error escaping into circulation to make headlines and command thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars. And collectors today are more knowledgeable than ever. With high-resolution photography, online databases, and coin grading services helping to authenticate and certify these errors. And as demand continues to grow for modern era coins, the 2015 D Lincoln cent stands out as a fertile ground for collectors to hunt for valuable variations, especially since many of these coins are still in circulation or available in unsearched rolls, making the hunt all the more exciting and rewarding. And even minor errors that might have gone unnoticed in previous decades are now being carefully cataloged and traded among specialists, and that includes coins with subtle die rotations, where the reverse design is slightly misaligned with the obverse when the coin is flipped vertically. And while minor rotations may not fetch huge prices, significant die rotation of 90 degrees or more is quite rare and highly valued, especially when combined with a well-preserved mint state condition. And speaking of condition, it's impossible to overstate how important grade is when determining a coin's value, because an error coin that is heavily worn may still be interesting, but a similar error on a pristine, red-hued, uncirculated example graded MS65 or higher by PCGS or NGC can multiply its value many times over. And in the case of the 2015 D penny, collectors specifically look for coins with full original luster, strong strike details, and minimal contact marks, because error or not, condition remains king in the world of numismatics. And this brings us to the importance of die state, which refers to how worn the die was at the time the coin was struck, with early die states producing the sharpest, most detailed coins, and later die states often showing signs of fatigue such as die flow lines, orange peel texture, or loss of fine detail. And collectors who specialize in die varieties pay close attention to these differences, sometimes collecting an entire progression of a single die as it deteriorates over time. And within this context, a 2015 D penny with a rare error in an early die state becomes even more desirable, offering a perfect storm of rarity, condition, and historical context. And it's also worth mentioning the psychology of collecting. Last 2002 D Lincoln penny. Today we're taking you into the story of the 2002 D 1 cent coin, a piece of copper-plated zinc that originally held a face value of just a single cent, but due to a remarkable combination of minting anomalies, mechanical mishaps, and rare production errors, some examples of this humble penny have skyrocketed in collector value to as much as $234 or more at auction. And what makes this even more intriguing is how such an overlooked coin from the Denver Mint, which struck over 3.4 billion of these cents that year, can still carry the potential of becoming a true numismatic gem solely because of the nature, type, and combination of its errors and the rarity of their occurrence. So sit tight, and let's unpack every possible detail, error type, and minting flaw that makes this particular coin an incredible find for anyone with an eye for detail and a passion for American coinage history. Beginning with the most prominent category of mistakes found on the 2002 D Lincoln cent, which are die errors, specifically involving die cracks, die chips, and die clashes, which are the result of long-term wear and overuse of the dies used to strike the coins, with die cracks appearing as raised, vein-like lines across the surface of the coin, commonly on Lincoln's bust, jacket, or the reverse lettering, and in some dramatic examples, a heavy die crack can extend from Lincoln's eye to the rim, giving rise to the nickname Scarface. Or in other examples, chips can form in the corners of the letters in Liberty or the date, and in extreme cases on the reverse, chips inside the letters of 1 cent can give the appearance of filled or bloated letters, and these types of errors, while relatively common on high mintage years, can become significantly more valuable when combined with other striking anomalies like off-center strikes, where the coin blank or planchet fails to align perfectly under the dies and is struck partially outside the collar, resulting in a coin with missing design elements on one side, sometimes as much as 5% to 70% off-center, with the most valuable ones retaining a full visible date and mint mark, making them easily identifiable and traceable. And this stacking of error types multiplies the value dramatically, as collectors often hunt for coins with multiple minting issues on a single specimen. And then there's the double die error, which, although more famously associated with earlier Lincoln cents, still appears in rare examples on the 2002 D penny, where the doubling of design elements like the date, liberty, or "In God We Trust" occurs due to misalignment during die creation. And such double dies, though less commonly reported on 2002 D specimens, are highly sought after and instantly spike the coin's worth when verified. But perhaps even more fascinating are the coins with misaligned dies or tilted hub strikes, where only one side of the coin appears centered and the other shows signs of tilt or distortion, usually seen through warping of letters or a crescent-shaped blank zone near the edge of the coin, adding a layer of visual oddity that collectors love. And then we must consider planchet errors such as wrong planchet strikes, where a cent is accidentally struck on a dime planchet or a foreign coin blank, creating a drastically underweight coin that looks smaller and silvery due to the metal composition, with such pieces being exceedingly rare and highly valuable, especially when authenticated by grading services like PCGS or NGC. And related to this are clipped planchets, where a coin has a crescent-shaped cutout due to improper feeding of blank metal strips during the punching process. And although minor clips may only garner mild interest, full or curved clips that are dramatic and cleanly cut can increase a coin's value several-fold, especially when paired with full dates and mint marks, which are crucial for authentication and appeal. And beyond mechanical errors, there are environmental and striking factors like strike-throughs, where foreign debris such as grease, thread, or metal shavings get caught between the die and planchet during striking, causing a void or textured imprint on the coin surface, often making parts of the design look soft, ghosted, or entirely absent. And when these are dramatic and distinguishable, like a full strike-through thread across Lincoln's face, they attract significant collector attention. And in rarer instances, you might find broad-struck coins that are struck without the retaining collar, causing the metal to expand beyond normal boundaries, producing an oversized coin with stretched features and a lack of reeded or smooth edges, depending on denomination, though for cents this means a warped circular shape with soft edges and highly distorted images. And let's not forget the repunched mint marks, abbreviated as RPMs, where the D mint mark on the coin was punched more than once in slightly different positions due to manual mint mark punching practices that were still partially in place in the early 2000s. And when a clear secondary D can be seen above, below, or beside the main one under magnification, it adds another layer of rarity and desirability. And then there's the possibility of transitional errors, which occur when coin composition changes between years or mints and old planchets are mistakenly used in newer years. Though for 2002, that's less likely given the long-standing copper-plated zinc standard, but it's not impossible to find experimental or transitional errors if a leftover or test planchet entered circulation. And even more elusive are the mule errors, where obverse and reverse dies from different denominations or types are mistakenly paired, leading to completely mismatched designs on each side, which is practically unheard of on 2002 D cents, but theoretically possible. And such a coin would be worth not just hundreds, but potentially tens of thousands depending on condition and provenance. And speaking of condition, even with error coins, state of preservation is paramount, as coins in uncirculated or mint state grades, typically MS-60 and above, fetch higher prices due to their sharp details and undamaged surfaces, and the presence of luster, appeal, and original mint red color can make even a minor error coin significantly more attractive to collectors, especially those looking to assemble high-grade error typesets. And in cases where coins are slabbed and graded by reputable services, the value is not only protected but often multiplied because it gives buyers confidence in the authenticity of the errors. And when you consider all these possibilities, it becomes clear why a coin like the 2002D Lincoln Cent, though common in appearance and abundant in mintage, can sometimes command prices of $234 or more when it contains just the right combination of errors. Perhaps a dramatic off-center strike with full date and mint mark, paired with die cracks and still retaining bright red, uncirculated surfaces, or maybe a rare misstrike on a dime planchet or with a clear repunched mint mark and heavy strike-through lines across Lincoln's face or the memorial reverse, because collectors crave the oddities, the flukes, the one-in-a-million mistakes that turn everyday currency into historical artifacts. And as these coins age and fewer pristine examples remain in circulation, the demand and prices are only likely to increase. So checking your change for 2002D cents with strange features, doubling, cracks, misalignments, odd weight or shape, or other anomalies might just lead to a valuable discovery worth hundreds of times its original face value, especially when authenticated and properly marketed in the collecting community. And what's more exciting is that the world of error coin collecting continues to grow, with more people realizing the potential that hides in plain sight. And with auctions, online marketplaces, and specialized forums now offering platforms to sell and verify these coins, even an overlooked cent from your old coin jar could become a star in the world of numismatics. And that's why the 2002D Lincoln penny isn't just a piece of pocket change. It's a potential treasure hunt, a mystery waiting to be uncovered, a lesson in how imperfection can lead to immense value. And as long as the U.S. Mint continues to strike billions of coins each year, the possibility for new errors, new variations, and new valuable finds will continue, making this hobby an ever-evolving adventure for those who dare to look closer. So whether you're a seasoned collector or just beginning your journey, never underestimate the power of knowledge, curiosity, and attention to detail.